Marlin never stops trying to find Nemo throughout the entire film. The scene with the sharks in the submarine doesn't really serve any purpose. The only thing that happened in that scene is that the mask dropped into the trench, and even then, Marlin and Dory get away very easily and quickly. There isn't really a clear theme. Is it that it's important to never give up? That doesn't work because Marlin never considers giving up. Is it that it's important to not be overprotective? That doesn't work because Nemo is very young and Marlin's fear was completely justified. Once upon a time, there was a clownfish named Marlin. Every day, he looked out for his son Nemo. One day, Nemo is taken by a human diver. Because of that, Marlin has to cross the ocean to find him. Because of that, well, Marlin's motivation and personality don't change at all until he finds Nemo. As I explained in point 2, the sharks are basically an extension of nature itself, and it is therefore unnecessary to go into detail about their backstories and motivations. Marlin is used to staying at the reef, but in the movie he has to cross the ocean with only him and Dory. I can't really tell why the ending is different from the beginning. Is it that Marlin is less afraid while Nemo is less susceptible? I feel like this is everything that Marlin ever wanted. Is it that Dory is now with Marlin and Nemo? That only happened because Dory accidentally ran into Marlin and followed him for the whole journey. When production on this film began, the screenplay was already complete, which is very rare for animated films. This is a great example of finishing the story before turning it into the movie. As I explained in point 8, this film began production when the screenplay was already completed. This means that the screenwriters had a lot more freedom since they wouldn't have to redo any animation. Andrew Stanton based this film off of multiple personal experiences, such as his trips to the aquarium as a child, and the feeling that he was being overprotective with his own children. As I explained in point 8, production of this film began with a complete screenplay. Several side characters, such as Gil and Gerald, were originally given much deeper backstories. These scenes were cut as they weren't relevant to the main plot. At the beginning, we see that Marlin is afraid of pretty much everything, which makes perfect sense. During the ocean journey, this aspect of Marlin's personality is clearly visible in every scene. Animated films about children being separated from their parents are very common. However, most of them are from the perspective of the child. Every decision that Marlin makes is done out of desperation to rescue Nemo, which is very easy to understand. The stakes are very high because Marlin has lost his only child after losing his wife and all of his other children, and Marlin has no idea what happened to Nemo, but we as the audience know exactly what happened. The screenplay of this film was written in 1997 and 1998, well before production began, as I explained in point 8. However, Andrew Stanton later said, that the casting of the lead actors is what saved the film, and there were still multiple scenes that were changed or deleted. All that Marlin has to do for his final test is convince Nigel to go into the dentist's office and get Nemo. Alternatively, maybe Marlin's final test is rescuing Dory from the fishers, but even that is easy, as he only has to convince the fish to swim down, which is easy because the fish are also being saved. It sure is convenient that A, the anglerfish encountered Marlin and Dory at that time so that they could read the mask and get out of there quickly, and B, Nemo was in exactly the right spot when Marlin and Dory, who had no knowledge of Nemo's situation, arrived at the dentist's office. As I explained in point 14, this film has the building block of a child being separated from their parents, only this film is from the parents' perspective instead of the child's. Most animated films with overprotective parenting as a major plot point end on the premise that the parents are either 100% right or 100% wrong. However, this film shows how the parent and child are equally right and wrong. Also, those films usually feature a much older child, usually a teenager, while Nemo is young enough for Marlin's fears to be completely justified. Nemo is captured by a diver, Marlin is to cross the ocean with the assistance of Dory to find Nemo, and after Marlin finds Nemo, well, nothing. As I explained in point 7, it is very difficult to tell how the ending is different from the beginning.